Hey guys, I'm Kenzie and welcome back to my channel. This is my second knitting podcast, so I'm going to talk to you guys about my current works in progress, my recent finished objects, and some new yarn acquisitions. I'm really excited to show you guys everything that I got because it's been a little bit since my last one, so I have lots of things to update you guys on. But yeah, let's just get right into it. So the first finished object that I want to show you guys is my Eva cardigan. I'll put a picture of it up on the screen. This is a pattern by Petite Knit, and this is my version. I knit it in black. I think the color is Caviar. It's the Lion Brand 24/7 DK weight cotton. So I don't have a ton to say about this. I finished it probably about a month ago. I took this with me on vacation. And yeah, I didn't do a gauge swatch for this, so I think it's a little bit smaller than it's intended to be. But it does fit me really well, and I've actually been wearing it a lot. I haven't blocked it, but I do have a little bit of experience blocking now if you've watched my last video of test knitting the sable sweater, which I'm going to show you guys next. But I am really happy with how this came out. It fits me really well. The stitches are tight enough that it's not too breezy or anything like that, but it's also just made of cotton, so it's pretty light for summer nights, and that's mostly what I've been wearing it for. But yeah, I'm really happy with the overall construction of it. One thing that's not really my favorite is the button band. It's a 2x2 ribbed button band, and it's just not my personal preference. I debated switching to doing a double knit button band. That would be kind of like my own design. It would be definitely a modification, and I've only done that once before. And the buttons that I got were these like wooden ones, and I thought they would be really cute. And also the holes, I'm not sure I did the buttonholes correctly because they're quite small, and I think the pattern called for like 32mm buttons or something around that. I'll put it on the screen. I'll find it and put it up there. But yeah, I bought these as like a second option, and I ended up having to use them because the other buttons wouldn't fit through the buttonholes. They're also like not very stretchy, and because of how these buttons are structured, I'll show you the back. They have this little ring on the bottom, and that's where they're sewn on. So they're really floppy, and if you can see, they just kind of like flop around, so I don't really like that. I like the rest of the cardigan, so I might at some point rip out the button band in the buttons obviously and redo it with a double knit button band, and maybe some different buttons, because I think I'd get a lot more wear out of it. But I do still wear it a lot as is. I just mostly leave it open. I don't really button it up too much, because you can see like the string coming out right there. Yeah, it kind of leaves like a little bit of a space. You can see it stretching when I'm wearing it. It's not the best, but I think that comes down to just like my choice in buttons, and maybe I followed the directions a little bit incorrectly, which is fine because I'm still learning. But I was a little bit disappointed because I spent a lot of time on this, but at the end of the day, it was yarn that I just had in my stash. It was stuff I got from Joann's before they went out of business. So I just wanted a reason to use it up, and I am glad that I made this because I definitely still wear it. There's just a couple things that I would maybe change going forward. The second finished object that I have to show you guys is my sable sweater. This I'm actually obsessed with. I did this for a test knit, and I posted a video a little bit ago about my whole experience doing it and kind of a vlog throughout the whole process. So if you want to check that out, I will link it below so you guys can go look at that. But I'm really proud of that video, and the pictures that I took with it came out really, really cute. I had my fiance do a little photo shoot with me. But yeah, I had a really great experience knitting this. This is possibly my favorite finished object to date. I knit this with Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in Brown Bear and Oatmeal, and I actually used a lot less than I thought that I would. But it has this folded collar. This is actually the first product that I've ever blocked, I should say that. But yeah, so I did block this and stretch out the collar quite a bit. I learned about Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, which is now my new go-to. I also want to say, because I talked about this in my other video too, about the Italian bind off. I think I've been doing it wrong. I've done the Italian bind off a few times. The one time that I think it was written out where you do 2 rows of double knitting was for the Sevilla blouse. I don't know how to say it, but I'll put it on the screen. But that's a pattern by Petite Knit, and it has 1x1 ribbing on the cuffs and the bottom bind off, and it had me do 2 rows of double knitting and then do the Italian bind off. And every time I've looked up Italian bind off, it's just the part where you thread a needle and go like in and out of all the loops in like a certain order. So through doing this, I think I have realized that I've been doing the Italian bind off wrong, and that the double knit rows are part of it. And I didn't realize that before. I thought that was just like a fancy little touch that Petite Knit had in that one pattern, because every other pattern I've seen that's like, okay, do an Italian bind off at the end, it doesn't say that, it just says Italian bind off. So yeah, I did that for this, for the bottom bind off. And this doesn't bother me because this is quite oversized, like as you can see. There's a lot of room in here, so I'm not too worried about it, and I can get it on without stretching this and feeling like I'm gonna rip it. But as you can see, it's not very stretchy. And I was like, what the hell, like an Italian bind off? Like that's supposed to be super stretchy. It's not. And I think it's because I have not been doing the double knit rows. But now I know. And because I did, so this is constructed, you start with doing the back, which is like up here. You do like back and forth between the shoulders, you do German short rows, and then you pick up for the shoulders up here and up here. You knit a little bit, and then once you get to under the arms, you join in the round, knit the rest of the body, come up and do the collar, and then you do the sleeves. So the first bind off I did was down here, and I knew that because the collar was quite small, trying it on, I could barely get it over my head. I knew this was going to be tight. It's only, I think, like 50 something stitches. So I really wanted something that was going to be really stretchy, and I knew, I was like, the Italian bind off I've been doing is not going to cut it. So I decided this was my opportunity to learn how to do Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy bind off, which is my favorite thing ever. I love it, actually. It's so much more intuitive, I feel like, than the Italian bind off. And also, every time I do the Italian bind off, I have to look up how you do it, but this one is actually really easy. If you don't know how to do the Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy bind off, you basically do a yarn over and then either knit or purl, whatever the next stitch is, and then you slip the yarn over the stitch that you just knit or purled. And it's so nice. I did that for the collar for the bind off. This is supposed to be sewn in, but I left it because I kind of like the look of being able to have like more of a mock neck, because it is pretty tight. Like when I have it on, I'll put pictures so you guys can see what I mean. And then for the sleeves, I have an end poking out. I did the Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy bind off, and I think that this actually looks so much nicer than the Italian bind off looks. It just has like such this clean edge. It kind of looks like crochet almost, which I guess is pretty much the same thing, but hopefully you can kind of see how neat it looks. And this is like after being blocked and everything too, so it's a little bit stretched out, but I think it looks so much neater. And like it's really stretchy, so I really like that. I will definitely be using that going forward. So I did that for both of the sleeves and the collar. A couple other things that I want to note about this pattern is that the beginning of round is underneath the arm. It's like right here. So because this is striped, I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to join stripes in the round without having like a weird line where they connect. But you can kind of see I do have a little bit of that going on right up here and like down. But I think I've since figured out something that works for that if you knit into the stitch in the row below for the first one of the round. And I started doing that a little bit towards the end, but it doesn't really bother me. It's under the underarm, so you don't even really see it, which is really nice. I like that that's where the beginning of round is and that it's not in the middle of the back, because I think that would definitely be a lot more obvious. Another thing to note about this, and this is just for me, this is just for my version of it, the rows alternate, so you have 12 rows here for the lighter color or the main color, and then you have 18 rows for the contrast color. And for mine, I got confused, like I confused myself thinking that it was 16 rows instead of 18 for a little bit, and I caught myself on the second sleeve and I was like, oh no, I hope I didn't do that for the whole thing. So I went back, counted all the body, and the body was fine. Had 18 stitches for all of those, we're good. But the first sleeve, and mind you, I'm on the second sleeve, so the first sleeve is completely finished. I realized that this stripe, this middle one, was only 16 rows. And this is to the point where I was on the other sleeve too. And I didn't want to go back and rip it all out. And I measured it against the body and like against the other stripes, and it looked the same to me. Like even now, I feel like you can't really tell that that middle stripe is thinner. I think it's fine. So I just ended up doing 16 stitches for this middle one on both sleeves. And then the cuff is a little bit longer, but that's meant to be that way, I believe, because the pattern, instead of having you do a certain number of rows for the cuff, you knit to about 9 centimeters. But so that doesn't need to be the same size, but it worked out being pretty even. So yeah, that's pretty nice. But I don't really have too much else to say about this. I really love it. I love how it fits. I'm definitely going to be wearing this a lot this fall. Like this is definitely going to be a wardrobe staple. And I cannot stress enough that if you guys haven't seen my test knit vlog, you should go check that out, because I talked all about my experience test knitting for the very first time. I got really lucky and had a really great designer that I was test knitting for who's super receptive. Also, the pattern was really easy to follow. Everyone in the test knit was super nice and supportive. We're all like liking each other's pictures and like telling everyone how cute theirs turns out. So yeah, if you want to know more about test knitting, definitely go check that out. I definitely want to do more test knits in the future. I am not sure when this pattern is coming out. The test knit ends on August 12th, I believe. So I'm guessing probably shortly after that. But if you follow me on Instagram, I'll be posting when it's released, and also like Liv will be posting, the designer. So I'll put both of our Instagrams down in the description so that you guys can check it out. But yeah, I'm really excited for this to be released and for you guys to try it too. This was a really fun experience. Onto my whips. I only have one to show you guys, and this is one that I've been talking about for a little bit. I don't know if this was still a whip in my... I don't think this was a whip yet in my last podcast, but this is the Nuku sweater, and this is all I have so far, just a few inches, but this bottom part is a picot hem, and I really like it. It's the first time I've done a picot hem, and this is like the cutest thing ever. It's lacy, but it's not like too lightweight. And then for the colors, I'm doing like a red gingham. The pattern originally is a pink gingham, and it's knit in fingering weight yarn. I believe Sanda's Garn Tinlina. I think that's the fingering weight one. And then she also uses a strand of mohair. And the designer is Cuckoo Loops, by the way. I'll put all of it down below, and I'm sure it'll be on the screen right now. But yeah, this is a really cute pattern, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it. Although I have made this way more difficult for myself than it needed to be. So it's very simple. You do the picot hem, and like that part was really easy. Also, I want to mention with this one, I am like pretty severely off gauge with it, and I think part of that is because I'm a tight knitter, and B, I am not using mohair, so I just have fingering weight, and I'm using the Knitting for Olive merino, the fingering weight, like regular merino, and I have this red, this pink, and then a cream. And I think looking at it in the camera from this distance, it's really turning out how I want it to. I was worried it looked a little too like just like different boxes and not like a gingham pattern, but I think it's turning out how I like. But I'm really excited about it. So the pattern is essentially a 10 stitch by 12 row repeating pattern to make this. So like if you look, the first one, it's pink and red, and you just keep going all the way around, and then white and pink, and pink and red. So the pink you use the whole time, and then the red and white you just alternate for like opposite rows to make the gingham pattern, right? And for some reason, I didn't look close enough at the chart, and I saw that it was a 10 stitch by 12 row repeat. And so I was thinking that these squares were 10 stitches by 12 rows each, but they're not. It's half of that. So my squares were a lot bigger than intended, and because of that I had really long floats. And I did a couple rows like that before realizing that the floats were not going to work. They were like 2 inches long. It was not going to work. So I did a lot of research about how to catch floats, and I tried to do it invisibly, and it was not a fun time. And I got really frustrated with it because I ripped it out so many times, like probably like almost 5 times, maybe more, before I decided to just message the designer. Because at the time there were no other projects in Ravelry, it was just the pattern. So I just had her pictures to go off of, and there weren't any pictures of the inside, so I didn't see what she was doing for floats. But I messaged her because she's like messaged me before when she saw that I was making this on Instagram. So it's like really cool, and I am really excited to show her my final product. But I messaged her asking what she was doing for floats. She mentioned the 5 stitch by 6 row pattern, and that like flipped a switch in my head. I was like, oh my god, I've been doing the boxes way too big. So yeah, it's been going fine ever since then. I restarted this a few days ago. I just ripped back all the color work, and yeah, I'm actually really loving how this is coming out. It's my first real color work pattern. Obviously the sable sweater has 2 colors, but this has 3, and this is the first one I've ever done where you're using more than 1 color for a row. So yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this. I just really like it. The pattern's pretty easy so far. I believe it's a drop shoulder. I'd have to go check. I think it's a drop shoulder though, but I'm knitting. I actually like how this is constructed. I want to say that because this is knit from the bottom up. So you do like the cute picot hem and all that. Like you could definitely do it at like from where I am so far, you could do like just this part top down. But I do really like that it's bottom up, even though I greatly prefer top down patterns, because I get to practice doing all of this color work before I need to do like increases and decreases and like neck shaping and like the sleeves and just all of that. Like it's all, I'm just practicing with tension and using different colors and like figuring out how to be comfortable with it before I get to that point. So also I think, at least from the patterns I've made, it seems to be pretty common for more detailed like lace or color work or anything that's like an all over kind of thing like that. It seems to be fairly common for it to be knit bottom up. Everything I've ever knit with lace, and so far this, it's bottom up. So I'm assuming that just must be the easier construction. But yeah, I think at some point I'm probably going to have to knit this. I think I'm gonna have to knit this flat for a little bit, and I'm not really excited for that, but I feel confident enough. My tension is a little bit wonky, but I think it's getting better the higher up I go. Let me see if I can show you guys, but you can kind of see my tension. It's not the best, but it does definitely get better as you get higher up. But especially like from afar, it definitely is starting to look like red gingham. So I'm really excited about that. And honestly, I could see myself knitting this again. I can't really say that about any other pattern that I've ever made, that I would necessarily knit it again. I'm kind of like a one and done kind of knitter, but this I think is just so fun. You could make this work for any season. Like I think a really pretty like a lavender color, like maybe like a darker lavender, but not a dark purple, like a darker lavender and then like a dusty purple with white. I think that'd be so cute. You could even do like a black, white, and gray for like a, you know, like a just like a black gingham. I think that'd be so cute. Someone on Ravelry did a yellow version that looks really cute. So you could definitely make this for like any season. I think orange would be super cute for fall. Even the black one would be cute for fall. Like I want to make this in every single color. And the yarn wasn't too bad, too expensive for this. I guess if I had gotten the mohair, it would definitely be more expensive, which is why I chose not to, because it being my first color work pattern, I didn't want to spend a ton of money just in case I ended up hating it. Um, but I'm happy with how it's going. I don't really regret not getting the mohair because I was able to do the math and figure out what size to make based on my gauge. Oh yeah, because I said before how I'm knitting this off gauge. My gauge is a lot smaller than the pattern calls for. I believe you should be able to fit 4 squares in 10 centimeters, and I can fit like 5. So yeah, my gauge is quite off. I would typically knit the size medium if I was on gauge, but because I like this gauge, I like how it looks, I don't want it to look too loose, and I worry that it would if I went up a needle size, or maybe several, because I'm a really tight knitter. So I just decided to stick with the gauge that I was knitting this at, which I think I'm using the needles that the pattern calls for. I'm using a size 6, so 4mm. So yeah, I'm making size extra large, but it's intended to fit like a medium. So this again, like, is meant to be oversized. I think it's going to have, when it's done, I think this will have about 20 centimeters of positive ease on me, if my math checks out. So you can see, like, it won't be super oversized, but it will be a little bit, and I think that fit is just gonna be perfect. It's just a really fun pattern, and even though it's fingering weight, I feel like it's not taking super long, and I'm really enjoying it. Having the different colors to knit, it just, like, it keeps it interesting, and then every 6 rows you're switching it. So yeah, it definitely keeps it interesting, and this is a really great beginner colorwork pattern. If you're not like me and realize that it's 5 stitches by 6 rows instead of 10 stitches by 12 rows. But yeah, here are my floats. They're not perfect, but I'm working on it, and they're not bad. That's what I will say. But yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about this and show you guys my yarn acquisitions. So the first yarn acquisition I want to show you guys is actually yarn. This is some sock yarn that is hand dyed. I got this on a recent vacation. I went with my fiance and his family to Mackinac Island, which, if you don't know, is a island in the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And it's super, super pretty. There's no cars allowed on it, so everything's like horse and buggy, and it's just like the cutest thing ever. It's very colonial. But the Lilac Festival was going on, and especially because that's actually where we got engaged, in front of all these lilacs. So I wanted to get some purple yarn, and unfortunately on Mackinac Island there was absolutely no yarn. So my fiance and I, the day we got engaged, actually drove, I think, about 35 minutes north to this hand dyer. She actually runs it out of her house, which I didn't even know at first. So she was so gracious and let us come by at like 8:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. But this is from Keenan Hand Dyed Yarns, and I'll also link her below if I can find her website. But yeah, I got these mini skeins of purple yarn, and I'm still kind of trying to decide what I want to make with them. I think, if I can't think of anything else, a striped tee or sweater of some kind. This is 75% superwash merino wool and 25% nylon. The next yarn acquisition is another yarn that I got. This is Sugar Plum Circus superwash merino, and this is in the color Fox. This is 100% fine superwash merino in a fingering weight, and it has 437 yards and 100 grams. So I got 2 of these, and this is a really pretty, like, reddish brown color. I don't know what I'm gonna make with this yet, but it's gorgeous. I wish that there were more skeins available. I guess this is a hank. But this is actually from a local hand dyer in Louisiana. My mom just got back from New Orleans, and this is one of the things that she got me. Actually maybe made her go to a yarn store and find me something. But yeah, I really like this yarn. I think it's gorgeous. It's very squishy. Yeah, this is superwash merino. I have a couple ideas for something with this, but I'm just nervous. I wish I had more of it because I would love to make like a cardigan or a cloud blouse with this. Or actually no, the cumulus blouse is what I really wanted to make with this, but I don't think I'm gonna have enough. unless I made it like really cropped or something, and I don't really want to do that. But it is what it is. So I have 2 of these, so I have about almost 900 yards. So I can make probably a tee or tank top with this, but I really want to make something for fall. The other thing that my mom picked me up from the yarn store she visited, which is called the quarter stitch. Yeah, I'll put it up here. But that's where she went, and that's where she got that yarn. And then I also had her get me this little stitch marker. I've never had like a handmade stitch marker before, but this one's just really cute. And then I believe the person working at the store actually makes these. So yeah, it's just really cute. Just this little moon. It's made of like, I don't know if it's an actual crystal. I think it is. But it looks like pink quartz or rose quartz. This is my dog Lavender. She's the sweetest girl in the world. Yeah, she's the sweetest. Okay, I have one more thing to show you guys. The final yarn acquisition that I have to show you guys in this video is the Chiagu shorties, the large ones. I have the minis and the smalls. You're being a goof. I have the minis and the smalls, and I finally have the larges. I needed to purchase these in order to do the sleeves for the sable sweater. I really hate DPNs. I don't like doing magic loop either. I always get a seam right where I shift all the stitches around. So this was kind of my only option. It kind of sucked that I had to splurge a little bit on this when I wasn't prepared to, but it is what it is, and I know I'll use these going forward, especially if I'm knitting anything in like a worsted or Aran weight yarn. So yeah, I'm glad I have them. They're a little bit different than the small and the mini ones. These ones twist, so they're not like the cables swivel, and these also are the same price. I think they're like very close in price to the other 2 sizes, but these only come with 1 set of each size. So there's 4 different needle sizes, but the other ones come with 2-inch and 3-inch. So you get 2 sets of each needle, but this one just comes with 4. So, and this is size 9, 10, 10.5, and 11. So yeah, quite expensive. It was like $70, I think, for 4 sets of needles. So yeah, not like super hyped about it, but it is what it is. I love the Chiago needles. That's all that I knit with. I have the regular 4-inch tip set, and that's what I use all the time for everything that I make. So yeah, I'm not mad that I have these because I'll definitely use them again, and the swiveling tips are actually really nice for doing sleeves. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about these. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you enjoyed seeing Lavender in the video. She's my baby. Yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more of my videos, because I have so many planned. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. It was super fun to share all of my yarn knitting things with you guys. It's so nice to just be able to talk about all of this, and there'll definitely be some more lavender in some of my videos. I will see you guys next time. Bye.